Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Welcome to part 4 of Penitentiary Kingpin. When St. John's got back to his cell, he could feel the coldness coming from Rome. He was concerned but not afraid. He had to stay focused on the plan. Rome, let me get the cell before we lock down. I need to use the toilet. No problem, but be quick. Lockdown is in 15 minutes. Yeah, I know. St. John shut the door and covered the window so that no one could see into the room. He only needed 5 minutes to do what he needed to do. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out the handcuff key that Roxanne had hid in the dope that Leah had brought in for her. This is it, he thought. No turning back. Hiding the handcuff key inside of Rome's pillow, making sure that nobody could tell that he had just put something in there, he pulled the strings tight to make it look like it had been like it the whole time, and put a small piece of tape, clear Scotch tape, over it to make sure that it looked secure. In 2 hours, Roxanne will be making an anonymous phone call to the warden, letting them know from a blocked number that Rome had a handcuff key. And having a handcuff key in the penitentiary is serious. It'll get you a trip all the way to Max. No return. Simple as that. St. John figured he might get locked up too, but he was willing to accept a few days in the hole if it meant the end of Rome. Before he opened the door, he flushed the toilet so that Rome wouldn't be suspicious. During the lockdown, Rome and St. John didn't speak to each other. The tension was in the air. St. John's was cool with it, though, because he knew what was about to happen. Rome, on the other hand, didn't have a clue that every move he was planning would amount to nothing. On top of that, he was also going to get cut off by Miss Tiffany. Everybody was in on the cross. It's a dirty game, and everybody gets dirty in it. Today was Rome's day to get dirty. The lockdown cleared and the time went fast, but like clockwork, the technical team came into the pod and surrounded Rome and St. John's. They ordered both of them to put their hands behind their backs, and they escorted them to the hole. While they were going to the hole, they shook down the cell and found the handcuff key in Rome's property. Internal Affairs made their way to the hole to question both of them. St. John was first. They showed him the key and asked him had he ever seen it before, and asked him all sorts of other kinds of questions, none of which he was able to answer. When Rome was questioned, he told them that he knew nothing about the key. He knew this was serious, though. He'd been involved in serious situations before. So he did what he used to do, what he was used to doing. He offered up some information. He told them that he knew some guys that had been getting high and that he knew that they would fail a piss test. So he offered up that information to them. Internal Affairs said, that's not good enough. We want to know how they bought it. Can you prove that they bought some drugs? We want some receipts. We want to know who's doing what. Now, Rome had prepared Miss Tiffany for situations like this. He had always told her to keep the receipts, when people send money, and here people pay for stuff either through money orders, which is the old school way, green dots, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Western Union, all of those types of things, right? And Miss Tiffany kept track of all of that. All of it. So the plan was this. Anytime something goes wrong, make sure, Miss Tiffany was to make sure that if anybody called her and asked for Janice, that she was to provide them with whatever information that they had asked for. Now, Rome, he gave the Internal Affairs the phone number. It was to a burner phone that was only used in emergency situations. This number wasn't on his list, so they couldn't connect Miss Tiffany to it. So he said, when you call, ask for Janice and tell her what you want, and she's going to give you everything that you need. He said, now when you get what you want, like get out of the hole, romance. I said, yeah, I'll go to the warden and get you out of the hole, but your seller is going to be charged. Somebody's got to take this case. As simple as that. I can't let both of y'all out of this. But if I don't get what you say, you're going to max. And your seller's going to walk out of here. Are we clear about that? Rome smiled and said, yeah, make the call and then get me out of here. What Rome wasn't anticipating was that Miss Tiffany was in on the cross. So IA called and asked for Janice. And she said, who is Janice? And the IA repeated, I was told to call this number and ask for Janice, and you will be able to provide me with whatever it is that I'm asking for. She said, don't Janice live here. You have the wrong number, sir. So he repeated it again, and this time he told her that Rome told him to call. And she said, I don't know any Rome. I'm telling you, you have the wrong number. So the IA said, thank you, and hung up the phone. IA got his security team together. They went back to the hole. They walked right past Rome's cell and said, you want to play games? We're going to play a game with you. So you need to get ready to go to max. So they walked right past the cell, walked right to St. John's cell, unlocked the cell, told him that he was free to go back to the unit. He had to go to the desk. They processed him out. He went back to the housing unit. Now, as he was leaving the building, he looked back at Rome and winked at him. He told him, I'm a dangerous man too. And left the building. Rome sat down on his bunk, bewildered. He didn't understand what was going on. He knew that if they called the right number, in his heart that Tiffany would do the right thing. He didn't know. He didn't anticipate that Roxanne had finally convinced her mother that they didn't need him and they could do better on their own. Even though he helped pay a lot of the bills and did a lot of the things, right? But he treated them like they were his workers, not his family. So when Miss Tiffany decided to link up with the plan and do as Roxanne had ordered, she was all in. Yes, she had feelings for Rome, but she knew that Roxanne was right about what she was saying. So when St. John's got back to the unit, he went to see Ben and got his 21 grams from him and took it to his cell. Now he sat in the cell thinking, what's my next move? It's got to be my best move. And as he sat in there, he was bagging up the dope. Ben came to the door, knocked on the door. He said, man, I had called home while you went to the hole, man, and I told Leah what happened. And she told me that she was going to get in touch with Roxanne. So when she got in touch with Roxanne, Roxanne told her to tell you as soon as everything was straight and you got out of the hole to call her. So I think you might want to get on the phone and call Roxanne and let her know that you're okay. He said, yeah, you're right, man. I'm going to take care of that in a few minutes. Let me finish this up. So he finished bagging up his stuff. And when he finished, he got on the phone and he called Roxanne. When he got on the phone, she said, what's going on? Pretending that she knew nothing. Because she wanted to make sure in case the IA was listening to their phone calls. They could not take for granted that they bought everything. She knew that the game was raw from both sides. So St. John said, look, I don't know what happened. They came in, they shook down. They said they found a handcuff key in the cell. They asked me about it. I told them I didn't know anything about it. I'm new to the cell, so I don't really know what's going on. She said, oh, that's bad. She said, so what did they do to your cellie? And he told her that they maxed him out. I'm going to send him to max. And she said, acting naive. How long do you go to max? He said, you can go to max for anywhere from 1 to 5 years. Now, Roxanne on the other end, you know what I'm saying, she smiled to herself. But when she, out of her mouth, she said, oh, that's messed up. She said, is there any way that he can get out trying to fish for information? He told her, not that I know of. Will he be able to make phone calls? Because she's trying to find out, will he be trying to call her mother? St. John's told her, well, you get a phone call, once a week back there from what I'm told. I'm just not sure. But it's got to be approved. So she knew then that she would have to get Miss Tiffany's number changed, just in case he tried to call. It was going to be a total blackout. They were going to cut him all the way off. Any mail that he sent to her, they were going to be returned to sender. They were cutting him all the way out of the game. Now, Miss Roxanne knew that by doing this, she was going to be able to execute her plan to the T. Unbeknownst to St. John's, Roxanne had been putting in work. She had secured a supply on the streets that could get her any amount of drugs she needed. It wasn't going to be difficult at all for her to send whatever was needed to make sure that she was straight and her mother was straight. Yeah, she wanted to look out for St. John. She had love in her heart for him, but at the same time, she wanted to make sure her and her mother were straight. Because again, people start to think that, because somebody loves somebody, everything's going to be fine when they get to do business together. That's not always the case. She was going to make sure that love didn't interfere with her, making sure that they were financially straight. They were taking the bigger chances. St. John's was already in prison. Miss Tiffany, Miss Roxanne were not. They had no plans of being taken to prison. So in the end, what happened was this. Ben played a bigger role in this than St. John's even realized. Because while he was in the hole, she made sure that Ben got the big homie on the phone and she secured a deal with him to make sure that St. John's would be straight and that she would supply the Crips with whatever they needed as long as they made sure that he was straight. They still had to pay, but they had an unlimited supply of cocaine from here on out. Her plans were to spread her operation all over the state. Yes, you heard me right. Her operation. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. And we had a new kingpin in town. And her name was Miss Roxanne. Yes, Miss Roxanne is the penitentiary kingpin. She supplied drugs all the way across the state for years. For years. This concludes this episode of Penitentiary Kingpin and this first season. Stay tuned. Tune back in next week. And I'm going to tell you more about Miss Roxanne, the Penitentiary Kingpin, and how she was able to get rich over the years, supplying not just the Crips, but Bloods, Vice Lords, gangsters, with whatever they needed, as long as they paid for it. Yes, y'all, the Penitentiary Kingpin wasn't a man. It was a woman. But before I go, I want to let you know about my book, Rivals. It's out, available on Amazon. It's available on Amazon.com. Rivals is a heart-wrenching and deeply introspective book that embarks on an extraordinary journey that explores the entangled lives of individuals trapped in the unforgiving grip of generational gang violence, set against a backdrop of crime-ridden streets, shattered dreams, and the haunting consequences of past actions. This compelling narrative delves into the profound depths of human emotion, revealing the complexities of love, loss, and the enduring pursuit of redemption. This book is about a father and a son that end up in rival gangs. And all of the things that come along with that. I want people to understand that the ideology of gang life can and did turn a father and son against each other, making them both have to decide, would I kill my father? Would I kill my son if I had to? It's an interesting question, y'all. One that I hope that a lot of you decide that you want to find out. Get the book, y'all. It's on Amazon.com. It costs $20. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And I say peace, y'all.